Welcome to the Buck Stops here, the official podcast of NotInHallOfFame.com, and I'm your host, Kirk Buchner, aka The Buck, the owner and the operator of NotInHallOfFame.com and the sister sites, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame and the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Check those out when you have a chance. The Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, it celebrates those who are not the athletes who aren't real. Our first inductee was Rocky Balboa, so you kind of get the gist of that. The Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the same exact vein. So you can vote for, here's a great inductee. Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. Who were they? They were the house band for the Muppets. You get the idea. Well, it's the Hall of Fame show, and what we do here on the Hall of Fame show is we look at the Hall of Fame related news. Yeah, there's a pandemic, but there's always something if you look hard enough. The New England Patriots have announced the finalists for their franchise Hall of Fame, and if any franchise has got it right in terms of the big four sports and how they celebrate their past players, it's the Patriots. Love them or hate them, and I know a lot of you love them and a lot of you hate them. Even those of you who hate them, you've got to admit, if you take a look at how they honor their players, they've done a fantastic job. We're also going to take a look at something, a little bit of a project that we called the Mount Rushmore idea. Now, it's a little bit different because a lot of the time when you're doing a Mount Rushmore, you're looking at the four greatest of something. Well, I sort of took a different spin on this. If you look at Theodore Roosevelt, was he really in the same vein as Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson? Not really. So who was the Theodore Roosevelt of some sports and pop culture? Well, we look at that, and with me, as always, is Evan Nolan from Chicago. And let's bring in Evan, and we've got all sorts of wonderful things to say. Evan, how are we doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty well. My team traded out of the first round so we could draft a safety out of a school that I'm pretty sure is a variety of French wine. I'm not sure what a Lenore Rhine is, but I'm pretty sure it's much like a Syrah. So everything's going fine.
Yeah. We had to go alcohol. I am on day 40 of which is now going to be a 50-day challenge for me. Hopefully, hopefully at the end of these 50 days, the country of Barbados will have lifted the memoriam on purchasing alcohol, and then myself and Banks Beer will be greatly reintroduced to each other. My wife's already not looking forward to that when she wakes up and finds me sprawled out on the couch again.
You know how sad you are about this ban by Barbados. You called it a memoriam instead of a moratorium. So you're already you're already upset about your inability. You've already given up on its life. So. Oh
God, yes. Memoriam, moratorium, potato. No, it doesn't quite work like that, does it?
Potato, vodka, same idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I just, in the background, I have the draft on here. The Jets are about to make pick 59. But one of my favorite things about this whole draft process, which has been so weird this year, is by putting all the people behind Goodell, who's making the picks, it's like the most interaction Goodell apparently has ever had with a human being in his life. He looks like an alien. He looks like a Third Rock character pretending to be a person. Like I'm in a human suit. I'm going to pretend to interact with these people on this board awkwardly, and then turn around and make a selection. So
I hate the fact he's all in on Boo the Commish.
Yeah, well, that was a problem too. Where he was like going for that. Although one of my favorite things that did happen was last night. Did you see what happened when the Chargers made the sixth pick?
No. Well, I mean, I was watching it, but I don't know what we're referring to.
All right, so the Chargers made that sixth pick for Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
And he goes and they have the box with all the fans back there. And nobody actually wants the Chargers Los Angeles. I'm going to officially from now on until they move back to San Diego, call them the Los Angeles Chargers of Anaheim.
Love it.
But the Chargers, they have those boxes. I don't know, there's, 15 fans supposedly up there? They couldn't find 15 Chargers fans. So there's 6 empty boxes with just the Chargers logo, and then 9 boxes with people screaming on it. It's just the idea they couldn't find 15 Chargers fans is absolutely hilarious.
That's got to be, next to the Jaguars, I think the worst fan base in the NFL.
Yeah, nobody wants them there. Nobody wants the Chargers there. They should just go back.
Yeah. Although
the other funny thing, did you see with the Titans pick, the war room that they had there? They had was it Vrabel? They had two crazy people there, but one of the best parts was they had a mirror behind him, and reflected off the mirror was somebody was taking a dump in the bathroom with the door open.
How the hell did I miss that?
Go check that one too. That was pretty funny. Also, the Oakland Raiders having their entire draft board up behind Gruden.
Yes, that I definitely caught.
That was also good. But the guy taking the dump when the Titans made their pick was also pretty darn hilarious. So, and also the Patriots tonight, by the way, when the Patriots made that draft pick, they cut to the Patriots war room and Belichick wasn't there. It was just his dog in front of the computer. and they drafted a guy from a Division II school nobody had ever heard of. So, yeah, that was pretty good. There was some pretty good comedy.
I actually loved
the draft.
I'll give the NFL or actually ESPN, whoever I guess ESPN because they put them together. The sort of the video packages on some of those guys as they were being picked. It may not always have been NFL or football related, but damn, they were entertaining.
They were. Although there's a lot of them, it's instead of telling about the pick, they're like, here's who died in their background. So, the Patriots actually just trade up. They're making a pick right now. Pick 60. Let's see if I like it. Here's some real-time stuff. Here we go. Tell me the tight end. And linebacker from Michigan, Josh Uche. So,
well, at least you've heard of Michigan.
So, what?
You've heard of Michigan.
I've heard of Michigan, yes. And we drafted one of his teammates last year, Chase Winovich, who was probably the best draft pick, at least in his first year out of it. So, I'm okay. We need a linebacker. We really need a tight end.
I think when you were talking about Mike Vrabel, that might be a perfect segue to start up with.
There you go.
Yes. I don't know if that's what you were going there. Either that or we're going to talk about a dump.
I was going there just because it was funny seeing the guy in the background. But, yeah, we should probably actually get to what we're talking about.
Yeah, so it sort of happened. This is far more your wheelhouse. This is your team, the New England Patriots. I've already cast my vote. I'm wondering if you have. You probably cast the same vote that I have. Would be my guess.
I'm sure we probably did.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the Patriots Hall of Fame for those who are unfamiliar. Mm-hmm. So the Patriots for years had the team just basically decided who the people into the Patriots Hall of Fame were. The last one of those they did was actually Bruce Armstrong, who was a very good offensive lineman on some very bad Patriots teams in the 80s and 90s. He actually retired the year before the Patriots won the Super Bowl, which stunk for him. But that was pretty much the way it worked up until 2000. Let's see, when did they built the hall there in 2007? They started coming with a system I think pretty much every team should emulate, where they have the people who cover the team pick 3 players or coaches or whoever, and then have fans vote online for who they think should get in. It's a really good system. It allows us, the team or the media, some power as to who actually is up there, but ultimately the fans decide who gets in. And then every once in a while they have senior candidates like John Morris, who was all-decade AFL starting center, but is someone who the 2000s hardly anybody remembers, was put in as a senior member a few years ago. We also had Houston Antwine, who was also from those years, got put in. And then last year, Leon Gray, who played next to John Hanna, got put in as a senior candidate. They basically do it every 5 years. So this year, they put up the 2 players who we knew were going to be there because they've been nominees the last 3 years and have not gotten in. Mike Vrabel, who you brought up, and Richard Seymour.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure you was the person you voted for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the person I voted for as well. So the question coming in was who was going to be the 3rd player. And I was thinking it was going to be Logan Mankins, because Mankins had just gotten named to the all-decade team. Either first or second team, we're not sure, but he's on it. And it's up for the Hall of Fame for the first time this year. I think we both think he'll be a semifinalist. I think there are still too many other people who they have to clear out for offensive linemen. There's just too many of them. They haven't been getting him in. So I think he'll be a semifinalist. I don't think he'll be a finalist this year, but he will be in the next couple, will be my guess. But he was not the person. They picked possibly the most divisive person they have put up again, the first time in a while, Bill Parcells.
Hate it.
Hall of Famer. Yeah, Hall of Famer. This is his fourth time on the ballot. The last time he was on the ballot was 2014 when the Patriots elected Ty Law. The team elected Ty Law. Yeah, he's been up. In 2011, the Hall elected Drew Bledsoe. 2012, they elected Troy Brown. 2014, Bill Parcells, and now this year. And there's surprisingly a lot of support amongst fans online on Twitter for Parcells, and I don't get it.
I was hoping you were going to be able to explain it to me, because I don't see how he's even in the conversation with these other two players.
Yeah. I mean, here's the argument. He as a coach, do you know what his record was as a coach of the Patriots?
I don't. Not off the top of my head.
Take a guess. He was 32 and 32. He was a 500 coach with the Patriots. Now, granted, he took over a very bad Patriots team, one so bad that they were drafting first when they got Drew Bledsoe. And they were a team that was, honestly, when he came in, a team that was looking like they were either going to move to Connecticut or to St. Louis. People probably don't remember this now, but when they replaced the logo, the Pat Patriot, with the Flying Elvis that they have now, there's a lot of thought that the team would move to St. Louis and just rip the face off and just have that like hat thing as kind of like a flag you can fly in the Midwest. That was part of the conspiracy theory at the time. So Parcells came in and gave the team legitimacy. Like, he was a legitimate coach after some very, very bad years for a team that had made the Super Bowl. When he came in, it'd been less than a decade. They made 85 Super Bowl, and he came in 92 or 93. And I mean, it's giving legitimacy to the franchise and bringing him to the Super Bowl, which is what it is. And honestly, bringing Bill Belichick to the Patriots or exposing him for the first time, I guess, would be part of it too, because Belichick seemed to have worked out okay. But that's basically your argument. The other side of that argument, of course, is that he was already negotiating with the Jets to become their coach while he was supposed to be coaching the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And that is the unforgivable.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, he was negotiating with the Jets before we went to the Super Bowl against the Packers. And the Patriots played really well against the Packers. The Packers were a better team, but the Patriots held with them until Desmond Howard returned that kickoff for a touchdown. That was kind of what broke the camel's back there. But yeah, I mean, there's your argument for Parcells. I don't even think he's the best coach available. I think Chuck Fairbanks, who was the coach in the 70s and should have made a Super Bowl except for the phantom roughing the passer call and Sugar Bear Hamilton, which he, of course, was made up for. That was against the Raiders. We made up for that with the snow game and the fumble that wasn't a fumble with the tuck rule. Mm-hmm. But Fairbanks, I think, is a better candidate than Parcells. But it's being voted on by the writers, and the writers love Parcells because he was a good quote. So that's my thought process in that. I don't think he's getting in. I don't think Vrabel's getting in. I think this is going to be Seymour's year finally. But who knows?
Yeah, I hope you're right. Although I've got this sneaky suspicion that Vrabel's going to will edge out and win this.
Maybe. I think the difference here, though, is legitimately Vrabel's team ended Brady's run in New England. So I honestly think there are a whole bunch of people who online, and maybe I'm just talking to the choir here, but there are a bunch of us who are all like, guys, we got to get Seymour in before he gets in the Hall of Fame. He's got in the Pats Hall of Fame before he gets into the Patriots Hall of Fame before he gets in the real NFL Hall of Fame, and getting in the Patriots Hall of Fame may get him through the door at the real Hall of Fame. So I don't know. We'll see. I think Vrabel's going to finish third. Of course, we don't know who finishes second and third. But I would say it's going to be Seymour. So
yeah, and I certainly hope you're right. And I think a lot of people who'd be listening would sort of agree with that sentiment, or that hope, rather. And it is. It would also, I would think it would benefit his Hall of Fame chances. I'm certainly an advocate for, well, there's a lot of guys I'm an advocate for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but Seymour is definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to their Hall of Fame?
The Patriots Hall of Fame? I've been by it. So I don't know. I don't know if I've talked to you about this before, but if you ever go to the Patriots Stadium, it's as in the middle of nowhere as you can be and still be in Eastern Massachusetts. Like it is, you'll hear teams talk about how you get off the highway and then you're just driving on a 2-lane road through the woods for like 8 miles, and all of a sudden there you are at a stadium. But the team has built up across the street, like the Hall at Patriot Place, and all sorts of places to go to eat and other things to do. So I've been to that other stuff over there, but I've never actually been to the Pats Hall.
So why did they build it there, the stadium?
Because there's already a stadium there. You can answer that question.
Oh, okay.
So the previous stadium, I know you said, what was the stadium you said was the worst in baseball last week?
Oh, the worst in baseball, or it might have been the worst in football. I probably was talking about Orchard Park and the Bills. But if baseball would have been... Exhibition Stadium, where the Jays used to play.
Exhibition Stadium. Yeah. That's right. Yes, you said Exhibition Stadium. The worst stadium in pro football history, I don't care from when, had to be the old Sullivan/Schaefer/Foxborough Stadium. Like, that thing was hideous. It was literally dented metal benches all the way around. It was a terrible, terrible place. And they were looking for options. That was part of the reason they're going to be able to move. St. Louis was going to build something. Connecticut was going to say, hey, you can still be the New England Patriots and build it here. But eventually Foxborough, which doesn't really have that much else going on, they got together with tried to make a deal with the Patriots ownership. And to be honest, Robert Kraft built that stadium essentially with his own money, and just got the state to chip in the infrastructure for the roads and stuff. But I mean that's why it was there. There's the only place in the state where they're like, hey, please put a stadium here, because they already have a stadium, and they're worried what would happen if it was gone. So,
okay. I wonder if the same thing might happen in Buffalo one day, just because like that stadium, you can see it off the interstate, but it's also in the middle of nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Patriots were nomads for years, too. They played in Fenway. They played at Nickerson Field, which is the old BU stadium. BU doesn't have football anymore, but the Nickerson Field is where they played for a while. They played all over the place. So the crappy stadium they built for a ridiculously small number of dollars in like 1968 or whatever it was at least a place they could stay. So that's why it ended up being built out there, and the reason they ended up being able to stay there. So
yeah, nothing quite like metal benches in a stadium, right up there with pea troughs.
Yeah.
Actually, no, pea troughs are always the worst.
Or if you're in Philly, you got the jail in there too. So.
Oh God, yeah, gotta love it. So we've got a couple deaths that we want to look at. I guess the in memoriam section. Hoorah, hoorah! That's my KRP thing.
Okay.
So you brought those. I'll send that link. It's. I think I already described this once. Why I sort of came up with that. So and you're the one who brought those up to my attention, because I forgot all about that. Mike Curtis.
Yeah, Mike Curtis, who has played for the Colts, Seahawks, and Redskins, was probably best known for playing with the Colts. Member of their team in Super Bowl V, when they won the first team All-Pro twice in 68, 69, four-time Pro Bowler. He was the AFC Defensive Player of the Year. He's the first team All-American in college coming out of Duke. So he was a hell of a ball player. He's someone who's been brought up before as a potential senior candidate, but I mean the senior pool is so huge. At this point, it's hard to pick just a few, but he's at least someone. You have 2 All-Pros, 4 Pro Bowls, you're at least in the conversation for somebody, and a ring. You're in the conversation of somebody who would get some consideration from the Hall, and of course, the Player of the Year award, the Defensive Player of the Year award. So,
and then you brought up one that I didn't even think of. I never would have too, and I should.
Yeah, I mean, we have the fictitious athlete Hall of Fame, right?
That's right.
So the inspiration for one of those fictitious athletes, Steve Dalkowski, who passed away of COVID, I believe, at age 80 in Connecticut earlier this week, threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and was kind of a head case, and was the inspiration for Nuke Lelouch from Bull Durham.
I wonder if he dated the ever-ageless Susan Sarandon.
I do not know.
Susan Sarandon will look the same when she's 100.
Yeah, she and Ant-Man. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Paul Rudd actually, I think, may look younger now than he did in Clueless.
If that's at all possible, yes. I mean, usually that only happens if someone really looks super old, like when they're young, like Greg Oden.
Right. Yeah. Or Willie McGee.
Oh, that's another one. Otis Nixon.
Otis, my man Nixon, yeah. I always thought Willie McGee looked like the Black Don Nuts.
I can't unsee that now. Oh my God.
You never got that image out of
No. Now I'm just sort of like picture him trying to like make Jack Tripper all straight and teach him how to be a real man.
Mm.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Willie McGee is the African American Don Knotts. And with that in mind, what was the main topic we came up with for this week?
I got nothing. Holy shit. My entire train of thought is just completely gone. Now I'm just picturing Willie McGee as the incredible Mr. Limpet.
Yeah. Willie McGee in the remake of Hot Lead and Cold Feet, the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Well, it's just like when someone brought up that the president of China looks just like Winnie the Pooh. You can't unsee it. Yeah,
and you cannot unsee it. He does. Or Dobby the elf looks just like Vladimir Putin.
Oh my! But yeah, there was a main topic, or just more of a challenge that is really not Hall of Fame related, and it was
that I had a lot of trouble with, to be honest.
Well, maybe as I sort of rattle off a few, this sort of might work, or might just sort of inspire a few. And the idea was to sort of come up with the Mount Rushmore, but not in the same way that everyone does their Mount Rushmore, which is those 4 greatest people of either a team. So I've seen that done as a state in terms of athletics, but just sort of who's the Theodore Roosevelt, which is someone who was pretty good, but not in the same level as your Lincoln, your Jefferson, your Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a few ideas. Do you want to do your one, or do you want me to sort of like come up with? Or
I'll do my one to get it out of the way. So
sure.
The best I could come up with here for like a definite 4th banana, which is the way I kind of looked at this, was the top of the 2003 NBA draft.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the number 1 pick, LeBron James, definitely on the Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
Number 3 pick, Carmelo Anthony, probable Hall of Famer. 4 pick, Chris Bosh, will be a Hall of Famer next year. 2nd pick, Darko Milicic.
Poor Darko.
Sorry. And the 5th pick, Dwayne Wade. So he's not even Teddy Roosevelt. He's Pete Best. He's Pete Best if Ringo Starr actually deserved to be in the Hall of Fame on his own. He's in, but doesn't mean he deserves to be there.
But Darko has one more ring than Carmelo Anthony. Go figure. The first of the group to get a championship ring, Darko Milicic.
Yeah. He played 10 years in the league. So.
Last I heard he was trying a kickboxing career.
I honestly can say I have lost track of Dr. Milicic.
Probably so as his parents.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so you're the ones I've sort of come up with.
That was the best one I could come up with. So
okay.
Let me hear yours.
Okay. So I went kind of obscure on this one. The Big Four North American sports, the Theodore Roosevelt is the National Hockey League.
Oh, sure. Of course.
That's
a definite one, although the baseball is dragging itself in that direction. But yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, the NHL only sort of still makes the Mount Rushmore because I still maintain it has the best playoffs and the most exciting playoffs in the Big Four of sports and the best trophy.
Both those things are true. And it has those six teams are really an anchor for the sport. That gives it a historic feel and like a history. Mm-hmm. And granted, the Oilers and the Penguins and the Flyers and the Blues and a few other teams have come in there and really built their own history. But yeah, those six teams, if we didn't have the original six that was mythologized so much, mm-hmm. hockey would be in a much better place. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. And
although you brought that up, just gave me the commissioners are an anti one of this, right? Because in the Goodell, Manfred, and Bettman they would be three of the worst four in the Mount Rushmore. Right?
They've all been chipped off they've been chipped off the mountain. It's all silver, 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 and silver.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is where you bring in the WNBA commissioner. You're wondering. There you go.
Yeah, whoever she is. I'm sure she's done a fantastic job sucking on the teat of the NBA.
Would the Mount Rushmore of commissioners be Silver, Dana White, Vince McMahon, and somebody else?
Or maybe for the upstart Women's World Hockey League or something like that, because I was reading something on CBC.ca where they said, well, no, we can't make it without the NHL. Yeah, because that's worked out so well for the NBA and the WNBA. That's exactly what the NHL wants to do. Fund a women's league that nobody's going to watch.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
All right, that was a good first one.
Okay. So I've got another one here. The fearsome foursome of the Los Angeles Rams, Lamar Lundy is the Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
So behind Merlin Olsen, Deacon Jones, and Rosie Greer. And even if you look
that's pretty fair.
Yeah, and even if you look at their great TV gigs, I mean, Merlin Olsen, Father Murphy, Deacon Jones, he was on a Brady Bunch episode, and the key figure of that. Rosie Greer, I think he was even made a couple roasts.
I think I remember Rosie Greer when I was a kid in Bounty towel commercials.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I knew he was doing something. And here's what I found for Lamar Lundy. He played a Cyclops in Lost in Space. Boom!
Ah, there you go.
Lamar Lundy is the Theodore Roosevelt of the Los Angeles Rams.
Well, when you're up, it's you and three Hall of Famers. I suppose that's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, they had the fearsome foursome. I guess sort of like the three guys, the killer three, and Lamar Lundy just doesn't have a ring to it.
Right. Okay, that's another good one. Keep going. You're on a roll.
I'm on a roll. The core four of the Yankees. So Derek Jeter. Okay. Yeah, so you got Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettitte, and my Theodore Roosevelt is Posada.
Ooh. I mean, the other three are Hall of Famers. Posada's never going to be a Hall of Famer.
Right. Well, Pettitte may not be, but...
yeah, I guess that's true. Pettitte's at least made the list. Posada's already off, isn't he?
Yeah. Posada was one and done. Was a non-factor... I don't think he was even... No, he wasn't even a Yankee in the first World Series of that dynasty of the late 90s.
Mm-hmm. Is that still Jim Leyritz or we're in Mike Stanley? I don't remember.
Crap, I don't know. I'd have to look that up again.
Good question.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that's my other one, sports, and then I kind of went off the deep end here. I took two old classic bands, Mike Nesmith of the Monkees.
Why Mike Nesmith?
Because it's not necessarily what he did afterwards, where he's by far the most successful. It's what he sort of did in the band, and if you replace him with any other bass player, you'd never know the difference when you watch the old shows.
That's true. But he had the best hat. So, sorry, your core four thing just made me think of another one that would have worked.
Sure.
The 1990s Braves starting rotation that was supposed to be fantastic, which would be Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, and Steve Avery.
Who was the other one who was almost like considered part of that? I want to say Kevin Millwood.
Yeah.
That's not right, is it?
No, it was Steve Avery originally.
Okay.
Those were the four originally, and then Avery didn't make it. But yeah, that one just came to mind with the core four. So there you go.
Yeah, and with the rock band Kiss, it's Peter Criss, who was a.
I was wondering which member of Kiss, because I thought about them. So
it's definitely Peter Criss. I mean, Ace Frehley had that drunken charisma, and he was a better guitar player than Peter Criss was a drummer.
Fair enough, but they both got name dropped in Weezer's song "In the Garage." So there you go. He had Ace Frehley, he had Peter Criss waiting there for him.
So I've got a few others that sort of fit, but it's more in the entertainment vein.
Okay.
So, because I was forced to watch all of these with my wife when we started dating, and we binge watched the whole thing. Not my favorite show, but I did see them all, so I feel qualified to answer this. Miranda Hobbs, Sex and the City.
Okay. So I barely know that. Miranda is played by who?
Cynthia Nixon. So basically the one of the four who was not very attractive, and you didn't really want to see her naked, but sometimes you did, I think. I don't remember.
I see. Who's the one with the big eyes? Because I know there's Samantha and Carrie, and then there's the other one.
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Why the hell do I know this? She always freaked me out.
Her eyes were always way too big on everything she did.
Shit, no, you're right about that. Now I can't unsee that either. Of course, I'm never going to have to watch those again, so that's okay. South Park, Kenny McCormick.
Well, that's why they killed him off every episode.
Yeah, and Butters was a better fourth.
It's hard to have a consistent storyline when you die in every episode. So, do you think Butters over Token?
Absolutely.
I was kidding. Or Jimmy or Timmy or I know I've run out.
Butters is my second favorite character behind Cartman.
Oh wow! I was actually referencing a episode the other day, the one where they had, I think it was back in the 2000 election, where the PETA came in and said that the cows was discriminatory to animals, so they made them have a vote for a new school mascot, and it ended up being a runoff election between a shit sandwich and a giant douche. Did you ever see that episode?
I did, yeah, which sort of works towards every election.
And Kyle refused to vote, and then they brought him back in, and he's finally voted for giant douche, and shit sandwich ended up winning. But the one line from that that always stays with me for every election was, he doesn't want to vote, and Big Gay Al, I think it was, said, Kyle, you don't understand. Every election you're going to be in, you're choosing between a shit sandwich and a giant douche. And like, here, it's another election year. Here we are again.
I even had a political one, but I wasn't really sure how that's all going to play out just at present. With the Squad, I consider right now, just based on level of attention, Ayanna Pressley.
Yeah.
Although
the other ones are who? Are AOC,
Rashida Tlaib, and the one who just loves her family in incorrect ways, Ilhan Omar.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Although I think I like Presley the most because I think she's the one with the most level head on her shoulders.
Okay.
But in terms of sort of like what gets the most attention, you've got the one who everyone always loves or hates, the two wingnuts, and the other one. And she's the other one.
Got it. Okay.
And I had Ernie Hudson from the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, he definitely felt like he was wedged in there, but he was the fourth one coming in anyway. He just wanted a job. He wasn't passionate about Boston Ghosts.
Yeah, apparently they and he was so upset because they rewrote the entire thing. Because originally he had so much of a bigger character, and they rewrote the entire thing after he signed on.
Okay, that makes sense. I agree with that.
And those are my Theodore Roosevelts.
Nicely done. Okay, those were good, and I ended up coming up with one more. So that was an interesting assignment. I was just really bad at finding things who I felt met the criteria. So
I probably put too much thought into this stuff. I don't know why I did that, but then I've got a lot more free time than you.
Yeah, I am in the middle of changing jobs within my company, so I'm trying to do my old job and get going on a new job with a completely different thing at the same time.
So they took your job?
Challenge.
Let's turn to another South Park bit. They took your... Yeah, okay. All right, I'm not as clever as I thought. Of course, I still have Willie McGee in my head. I can't...
I mean, how about... doing the I just saw that because we have the NFL draft on here at the same time. Could you do that Mount Rushmore thing for each of the divisions in the NFL?
Absolutely.
So I just thought of that because the Lions just came on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's clearly Packers 1, Bears 2, Vikings 3, and Lions a distance 4th, correct?
Absolutely.
So how about your division?
Okay.
The Saints. Who's is it? It's got to be Tampa, right?
Right.
Although they have a Super Bowl.
I think it's the Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers.
It's either
Panthers have been to 2 Super Bowls.
They might very well have, but in terms of who they are, in terms of their whole legacy, I mean the Saints have the Super Bowl, the Bucks have the Super Bowl. Atlanta's been to 1 also, but it just feels like.
Atlanta's been to 2.
Okay, that's right.
They've been embarrassed both times. The first time they had the Eugene Robinson, the NFL Man of the Year, get busted with a prostitute the night before the Super Bowl.
He was the Man of the Year.
Yes, he was. And the second time the second Super Bowl, they now have a regional holiday. Every time March 28th comes around, all of New England makes sure to remind Atlanta the score of the Super Bowl.
I think by default, though, just if you've got the Falcons and the Panthers, if I'm going to go by fan bases, and I've sort of like dumped on Atlanta for a lot of their fan base for a lot of things, the Panthers fan base isn't exactly the most passionate either.
True, and I would say, to be fair, the Falcons do seem to have the best fan base out of the Atlanta teams.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So, I mean, by default, I'm going with the Panthers on that.
Okay. So, all right. So we've done the 2 of the NFC divisions. How about the West? So we got the Niners, the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks.
Well, it's definitely not the Seahawks.
It's not the Seahawks. It's obviously not the Niners.
Yeah.
It's got to be the Cardinals by default, even though they're like the oldest team in the NFL, right?
It'd have to be.
Yeah. And then that leaves you with the NFC East: Redskins, Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys.
Which is now the Redskins, which is a funny thing to say.
It's now the Redskins, but historically it would have been the Eagles until recently.
So historically, back when I was a kid, it was the Cardinals there too.
Well, true.
They weren't even allowed. They weren't even allowed. Not even on Mount Rushmore. They weren't even allowed in South Dakota.
Yeah, they've moved, 3 times now and changed the name 4 times. So.
Yeah.
Chicago, St. Louis, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
So
there'd be that.
Right, so let's try the AFC. So let's go with I'll start with my division. The Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, Bills. The Jets, right?
Isn't that so sad to say? But it is.
The Jets. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah.
The Jets.
Yeah, it has to be. Has to be the Jets.
The AFC North is the Ravens,
Bengals.
Browns, Bengals, and Steelers. And even how bad the Browns have been, they at least have a historic run with Otto Graham and Jim Brown. So it's the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're the bastard child of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Oh, so the most interesting one would have to be the AFC South.
I mean, it's the Colts and 3 teams. So it's the Colts, Jaguars, Titans, and Texans. I would say the Titans get the benefit of the Oilers teams.
Absolutely. Yep.
So that takes them out of it. But the Texans versus the Jaguars?
Well, before I would have said the Jaguars, but now, I mean, just with as long as Bill O'Brien's there, it's the Texans.
Yeah, but the Texans have had multiple players better than almost anyone who's ever been on the Jaguars.
But the Jaguars has made an AFC championship.
That is true. They made it to 2 AFC championship games.
Yeah, so I mean, they have been closer. Even though you're right, I mean, the Texans top players are better than the best ones you can come up with.
I mean, the Texans are going to have more Hall of Famers in 15 years from now. The Texans will have more Hall of Famers than the Jaguars by far. Mm-hmm. The Jaguars will have Baselli, and the Texans will have J.J. Watt. Deshaun Watson is may or may not be done 15 years, eligible 15 years from now. DeAndre Hopkins again, he's gone, but he's going to may have an argument. Mm-hmm. Who knows who else? But I mean, that's a tough one. And then the West, we're going to have the Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, and Raiders. And that's got to be the Los Angeles Chargers of Anaheim at this point.
Absolutely. Despite the fact I do like their new uniforms.
I do like they're all like all dark blue ones because I like the powder blues, but the all dark blue ones are really, really good. Mm-hmm. I really like those. The Patriots new ones are okay. They could have done better, but I really like the Chargers new one. So the Patriots new ones look way too much like the Bills, just a little darker blue. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always sort of found talking about the Bills. I always found their old helmet logo, or it was like, at least now, I mean, like there is the bison or the buffalo, whether you want to call it buffalo bison, whatever the hell. It's charging, it looks like it's about to do something. Where the other one, the retro one, just looks like, okay, it's sitting there to take either a dump or he's just coming up from a graze. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. So, all right, how about this one then? Which of the divisions in each conference is the Mount Rushmore? Is Teddy Roosevelt?
It's a Teddy Roosevelt.
So for the AFC, I think it's easy.
Yeah, it's the South.
It's clearly the South.
Yeah,
What about the NFC?
Oh, man.
Is it the South again?
I think it almost has to be. Because the East, I mean, as much as they're...
You got the Cowboys, Giants, Redskins, and Eagles. It's kind of hard to...
They're so iconic, all 4 of them.
Yeah, and the West might have an argument, except the Seahawks have been good for 10, 12 years now, if not longer. And you have the Rams and 49ers being historic. Mm-hmm. And then the North, you got the Bears and Packers, who are the oldest rivalry in the NFL.
Oh, they're older than some of the actual Rocks. Mount Rushmore. Yeah. So, yeah, it's...
Maybe true.
It's the South.
It's the South both times.
Begrudgingly, it's the South.
Although the South has made it much closer than it was when they first made those divisions. When they first made those divisions, like the Saints had never been to a Super Bowl, the Buccaneers had never been to a Super Bowl, mm-hmm. The Falcons had been to one, and the Panthers had never been to a Super Bowl. So
I did like it when they finally realigned all that, because when I started watching the NFL as a kid, like, why the hell are some of these big teams in these divisions? and just trying to figure that out.
Tampa Green Bay rivalry was the Bay of Pigs, as they used to call it on the NFL Countdown, or Arizona being in with the Eagles and Cowboys,
and they'd call it the East.
Some weird ones. Yeah, that was the thing. Remember when the Braves used to be in the West?
Yes.
In major leagues, and they had that one year they had their runoff with San Francisco, where one team was 106 and the other had 105 or something along those lines, and they won their division because they were 2,800 miles apart, but somehow in the same geographic designated location. So they did a lot of weird things when we were kids.
It's not quite like that now when I'm looking at the Big Four.
Yeah, the only one that's kind of weird are the Tennessee teams in basketball and hockey. Mm-hmm. They're like on the border of where they should be. And I guess the Northwest in the NBA is kind of strange. Because you got Portland, Minnesota. It's Portland, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, and Utah, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird combination. Now, it's made weird because Seattle moved to Oklahoma City. But that's a pretty weird geographic one.
If I remember right, too, like when I was a kid, when they all had different names as opposed to geographic ones. So with hockey in the Smythe division, and it was like the Jets, the Canucks, Oilers, Flames, and then the Kings were in the middle of nowhere in terms of hockey. Like back then, the days before the Sharks, the Ducks, the Coyotes, the Avs. Did they come up with a team name for the new Seattle one, or have I missed it?
I haven't seen it yet. There are some interesting ones. The Sockeyes were pretty popular.
The Sockeyes?
I kind of like it.
Is it that's a type of salmon, right? Salmon. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good name for like a hockey team. Like punch someone in the face.
So I
kind of like that one.
I'll leave you with this one here. What is the least intimidating? I've got two of the Big Four sports names.
Utah Jazz.
Okay, yeah, that was one. My other one is the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, it's a leaf.
Maple Leafs are not good in terms of intimidation.
Well, not only that. I mean, it's dead for all the winter. There are no leaves in Toronto.
Also true. Vancouver Canucks aren't really that intimidating either.
Yeah, it's you know the name, what that means, right? Just a slang for Canadian.
Yeah, but it's a slang for a stupid Canadian, isn't it?
Well, I guess it depends on. I think that's how Americans call us. But when you had Captain America, we had a comic book called Johnny Canuck.
Ah, okay.
I don't believe anyone's sort of playing him in the movie. Oh, there we go. Let's cast Johnny Canuck.
All right. So here are the finalists, by the way, for the
yes.
In January 2018, there were 13 team names made public that they were deciding between. You ready? In alphabetical order here.
Yep.
The Seattle Cougars, which is very college.
Lame.
Seattle Eagles, which is boring.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle Emeralds. The Seattle Evergreens, the Firebirds, the Kraken.
Ooh.
You know, unleash the Kraken. That's not a bad one. The Rainiers, the Renegades, the Sea Lions, the Seals, although that was the California Golden Seals, so I think they should stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
The Sockeyes, the Totems, and the Whales, but that's too close to the Whalers, so they should stay out of that one too. So of those, I think the Sockeyes interesting. I think we both like the Kraken.
Definitely.
The Emeralds would be interesting. I don't have a problem with that. It's again, not the most intimidating, but it's at least the color.
Well, it's better than the totem poles, especially if they suck.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't you just call them the pylons too?
Yeah. So those were the finalists announced in January of 2018. I'm just looking quickly if I could see a quick update.
Yeah, not only that. I mean, if you look at the Canucks' not new logo, it's been the same one for years. But I mean, it's certainly already totem inspired.
Yeah, that is. That's true.
So I mean, like it's it's just not going to work. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Kraken? That would be incredible. But I know how I want to sort of end this while you're looking that up.
Okay.
Are you down to the Elite Eight in the Disney villain?
Yes. I am down to the Elite Eight, and we're going to go through it tomorrow. Hold on one second. I'm going to need to get that up here. I should have been prepared for that, but I am not.
Well, I forgot to ask you about it last week, so that's on me.
Yes. All right. So the Elite Eight here, and where we have the votes here. So Group A ended up being Maleficent against Claude Frollo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So who do you think is winning that one?
Well, you've been talking about Claude a long time, so I'm going to say that you've subtly been inspiring people to vote that route. So I'm going to say Claude Frollo.
I've been making no inspiration one way or another, but Frollo right now is up got 70% of the vote. So they it looks like Frollo is going to upset Maleficent, but of course Frollo did want the entire extinction of all. Well,
that's you say you're not pushing, but I mean, when you make this case for genocide, this is sort of like where the genocide's good. A sentence you don't hear often, but genocide can be good if you're looking to win an evil tournament.
True, and he also killed a woman by kicking her down the steps of the Cathedral of Notre Dame, and then was going to drown her baby in a well, and then was forced to raise it as his own, being Quasimodo.
This is
evil. And then tried to burn a girl at the stake because she didn't like him as much as he liked her. So he's got a pretty good resume of being a complete utter dick.
And what's his seed?
He's a 3 seed. She was the 1, he was the 3. The next matchup is the Evil Queen from Snow White against, and these aren't officially closed yet, against Governor Ratcliffe from Pocahontas. Mm-hmm. And so she's she's a 2 seed. He's a 5 seed. He knocked off the number 1 Jafar last week. And he's currently winning 2/3 to 1/3 about on this one. So we have another higher seed going down, it looks like.
So the woke vote is coming in full force.
Yeah. We have Scar from Lion King against Cruella de Vil, who's the 3 seed from 101 Dalmatians. Mm-hmm. Who do you have in that one?
Cruella's the one that I certainly remember more as a kid, but that I don't know the age range of all the people who are sort of voting on this. I would imagine Scar is a far more well-known candidate.
Scar is definitely more well-known, and he has 100% of the vote.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah, it's not even close. And then the last one, the one that my kids would probably go the opposite of the way it's going, is number 1, Ursula, against number 3, Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog.
Ursula's winning?
Yeah, Ursula's winning. It's about 2/3 to 1/3, close enough. But my kids both love Dr. Facilier. My son wants to dress up as him for Halloween. So my son is definitely someone who would go the dark side for Star Wars. Is a Slytherin in Harry Potter universe. Definitely like on he understands where evil comes from side, which is kind of scary as he's 5 and wants to go robots. But, he knows what he likes.
When I was a kid, I always cheered for the Decepticons. Although
one of the most traumatic... So go ahead, continue.
Well, I was just going to say, although ironically, my favorite character was Starscream, who was essentially the Gilligan of that group.
Yeah, Starscream was, yeah.
But he had the cool voice.
If I could run the Decepticons, then we would have won.
It's a horrible impression, but...
That is actually your best impression you've done.
That's my best one? Okay. Man, my impressions really do suck.
I always had a soft spot for Jazz. Who's the police car on the Autobus side. But I have to say, one of the most traumatic experiences of my watching career as a child was watching G.I. Joe when my favorite character was Dusty, and he ended up being, at least temporarily, the traitor to Cobra. And that, like, wrecked me as a child.
I don't recall him doing that heel turn.
Sorry, sorry. It's spoiler alert. I should have said.
Okay.
It's only been 35 years. So.
Yeah, I didn't watch all of those, but I mean, I certainly watched enough because like Cobra Commander was the same voice. It was awesome. The Starscream.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Did you ever see the Transformers movie? The old one?
The animated one.
The animated one,
yeah.
From 1986.
Yeah, with Serpentor and yeah.
And was the last role for Orson Welles.
That's right. Yeah.
In his movie career, but that movie, just the difference between now and then. That movie starts with the Decepticons taking over the moon base run by the Autobots, and then like knocking all the Autobots out, and Megatron has Ironhead on the floor, and he's like, Megatron, we're going to stop you. And Megatron says, I'd like to see you try. And literally, Mafia style, with his gun on his arm, blows Ironhead's head off. And this is in 3 minutes of the movie, and it's a child's movie from 1986. And that's just how things were in the 80s. All those movies were meant to terrify us. Labyrinth, Secret of Nim, Dark Crystal, like Return to Oz. Did you ever see Return to Oz?
As a kid, I can't remember the plot of any of it.
That movie is fucking terrifying. Even as an adult, like, oh my God, I can't believe they let us watch this. But right in the heart of that was that Transformers movie.
Yeah, and now though we're now as adults, it's like, okay, so what do you mean? All these robots finally got killed here when they've been sort of like dodging all these things for years and years, like. And there's all these brand new ones. Oh, new toys. Now we get it. Didn't then.
Right.
Especially though back then too. Also, I noticed because they had that on Netflix, so I thought, okay, I'm going to rewatch all this. And man, they're real. Every time Optimus talks to one of them, he always makes sure that he's calling them by their name. So I guess you know exactly which one to get in the store. Never says, right. Hey, you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's product placement, man. You don't end up like the GoBots.
Oh, it was the GoBots. That's how sort of you knew that whose parents didn't love them. They showed up with a GoBot.
Well, they were the ones who came first, and then they got Transformers completely stole all their stuff and marketed themselves better, and that was the end of Leader 1, and that's the only one of them I can remember. It was a Turbo, I believe, was another one.
You got me beat by 2.
Yeah, Leader 1 was a plane. Turbo was a red car. I think there was a motorbike named Scooter. And I'm out.
Again, you got me beat by 3. Well, we'll come up with something for next week. We always do. I don't have anything off the top of my head, but I'm the chairman. I always come up with something. Even sober.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah. So. All right. Stay safe, and we'll talk next week. Thank you so much for listening. Hope everyone's staying safe, and look for more content from us at notinhalloffame.com. com.